What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Thursday, February 24th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 7-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the point guard position. I like De'Aaron Fox from the Sacramento Kings playing the Denver Nuggets, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They give up the third most fantasy points to opposing point guards. De'Aaron Fox has averaged 36.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 34 minutes per game with a 29% usage rate. He's projected at 37.8 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 42 fantasy points or more, get you 5 times value or more. He's $8,300 DraftKings salary, $300 more on FanDuel, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 231.5 points scored in this game. So a high-scoring game, and De'Aaron Fox has scored 57, 33, and 33 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 40, 33, and 38 minutes. Now, I like this pick because De'Aaron Fox has scored 47, 35, 47, 40, and 40 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Nuggets. And he scored 47 fantasy points or more 3 out of his last 5 games in general. It's a good matchup in a high-scoring game, so I like De'Aaron Fox here versus the Denver Nuggets. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. I like Kobe White from the Chicago Bulls playing the Atlanta Hawks, who have the 7th worst defense overall. They give up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Kobe White has averaged 24.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 28 minutes per game with a 21% usage rate. But take a look at his last 3 games. He scored 51, 48, and 38 fantasy points in his last 3 games, playing 39, 34, and 37 minutes. So I think he can score 35 fantasy points or more here, get you 5 times value or more. He's $6,700 DraftKings salary, $600 more on FanDuel, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 234.5 points scored in this game, and it's a good matchup, a high-scoring game. He's playing a ton of minutes. He's been super productive in the last 3 games. And he scored 42 fantasy points in his last game versus the Hawks. So I like Kobe White here versus the Atlanta Hawks. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won. And we'll send you $25 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. If you're looking for a value play, take a look at Justin Holiday. Justin Holiday. Oh, and also Aaron Holiday. All of the Holidays are looking good here tonight in this slate. Justin Holiday, he scored 29 fantasy points in 37 minutes last game. He's projected at 21.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's only $4,200 DraftKings salary, $300 more on FanDuel. So Justin Holiday from the Sacramento Kings playing the Denver Nuggets looks like a pretty decent value play, getting a lot of minutes, who's been productive. And then Aaron Holiday from the Phoenix Suns playing the Oklahoma City Thunder. He scored 23 fantasy points last game in 20 minutes. He's only 3,700 DraftKings salary, 200 less on FanDuel, and that's a good matchup as the Oklahoma City Thunder have the third worst defense overall, give up the 7th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. So both of these holidays look pretty good as value plays here tonight. And there was one more value play I was just looking at. You got Corey Joseph, who's playing 29, 35 minutes the past couple of games, projected at 20.5 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.3 times value. He's only 3,900 DraftKings salary, 200 more on FanDuel. So some pretty decent value plays here at the shooting guard position. Let's take a look at the small forward position. I like Aaron Gordon from the Denver Nuggets playing the Sacramento Kings, who have the second worst defense overall. They give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing small forwards, also eligible at the power forward position. Aaron Gordon has averaged 27.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 19% usage rate. He's projected at 28 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. He's 5,600 DraftKings salary, 500 more on FanDuel. We know Vegas thinks there's going to be 231.5 points scored in this game. And Aaron Gordon has scored 30, 23, and 24 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 30, 32, and 32 minutes. So I like Aaron Gordon here versus the Sacramento Kings.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on.
Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. I like Al Horford from the Boston Celtics playing the Brooklyn Nets, who have the 11th worst defense overall. They give up the 8th most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Al Horford has averaged 28.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 28 minutes per game with a 16% usage rate. He's projected at 27.4 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 30 fantasy points or more, get you 5 times value or more. He's 5,700 DraftKings salary, 400 more on FanDuel. Al Horford has scored 44, 21, and 19 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 33, 19, and 23 minutes. And he scored 31, 18, 38, and 39 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Brooklyn Nets. So I love this matchup here for Al Horford. So I like Al Horford here versus the Brooklyn Nets. Now, another value or mid-range play that I like, he's got a good matchup and he's been on fire the past couple of games, or the past 3 games, is Brandon Clark from the Memphis Grizzlies playing the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have the 8th worst defense overall. They give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Brandon Clark has averaged 22.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 19 minutes per game with an 18% usage rate, but he's playing a lot more minutes lately. He's projected at 26.1 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's only 5,100 DraftKings salary, He's $1,300 more on FanDuel, so I love that DraftKings price. Brandon Clark has scored 34, 34, and 30 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 26, 22, and 32 minutes. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 239 points scored in this game, so a high-scoring game. So I like Brandon Clark here versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. Okay, moving on to the center position, I like DeAndre Ayton from the Phoenix Suns playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have the 3rd worst defense overall. They give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing centers. DeAndre Ayton has averaged 34.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 21% usage rate. He's projected at 33.8 fantasy points here tonight. That's 4.9 times value, so just about 5 times value. He's $6,900 DraftKings salary, $100 more on FanDuel. And DeAndre Ayton has scored 35, 34, and 33 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 27, 30, and 25 minutes. So I like DeAndre Ayton here versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now I also like Clint Capella from the Atlanta Hawks playing the Chicago Bulls, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing centers. Clint Capella has averaged 32.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 28 minutes per game with a 15% usage rate. He's projected at 30.9 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.3 times value. He's $5,800 DraftKings salary, $300 more on FanDuel. And I like this pick because Vegas thinks there's going to be 234.5 points scored in this game. And Clint Capella has scored 25, 21, and 31 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 23, 30, and 31 minutes. And I really like this pick because Clint Capella has scored 43, 34, 39, and 41 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Bulls. So I like Clint Capella here versus the Chicago Bulls. Now, if you're looking for a value play, take a look at Lamarcus Aldridge from the Brooklyn Nets playing the Boston Celtics, who have a good defense overall. They've been good versus opposing centers, but Lamarcus Aldridge has averaged 24.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 23 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. He's projected at 24.9 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.2 times value. He's $4,800 DraftKings salary, $700 more on FanDuel. Lamarcus Aldridge has scored 26, 34, and 29 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 28, 21, and 19 minutes. So I like Lamarcus Aldridge here versus the Boston Celtics.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck.